It's time for the 1430 Connection on 1430 WNAV and 99.9 FM, spotlighting news, newsmakers, and important community issues. Now, with this week's edition of the 1430 Connection, here is WNAV news anchor Donna Cole.
Welcome to the 1430 Connection. I'm Donna Cole. I'm in the studio with Ernest Green. He's known as Ernie to most of us around town. He's the artistic director of Live Arts Maryland and the music director of the Annapolis Chamber Orchestra and the Annapolis Chorale. If it has to do with music, Ernie's involved with it in Annapolis and beyond. Ernie, thank you for joining me once again.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so what's new in the musical world of Annapolis, in the arts world of Annapolis?
Wow, I think there are a lot of new things. I think we're at in the arts world in general. I think we're at this this sort of crazy crossroads where the arts world and the performing arts world in particular is really changing because the old ways don't work very well, and it means that groups that are going to succeed and thrive are going to need to do a little bit of reinvention and rethinking about how we connect with our audience. It's so much about connecting with the audience and really finding ways to engage them in a dialogue, whether it's an actual dialogue or just a dialogue that comes from them listening to what you're doing and then responding to it.
Is that part of staying hip, staying of the moment, in other words, 21st century and not 20th century or before?
I think so, and I think a lot of it is directly related to the fact that there's so much information available. I mean, it's everywhere. It's social media, it's on the internet. You can find anything, anywhere, at any time. What's really sort of interesting is we used to have this idea of saying to the audience, although we hopefully didn't really say it quite this way, but of saying things like, we want you to buy tickets, come in, sit down, shut up, listen to what we're doing, and then go home. Now, thankfully, those days are done. We're now looking at an audience that wants to know what we're doing and to sort of go on the journey with us.
Be part of it.
Be a part of it. It absolutely is the case. So one of the things, for instance, that's driven our programming over the last, I would say, 4 or 5 years, certainly, and a little bit before that, but really the last 4 or 5 years, is the idea of how do we do what we do in a way that takes the audience along with us. And so it's caused us to do different things in terms of the way we present concerts, the way we program concerts, even down to the repertoire. For instance, this year that we're doing, it has there are 2 tracks that sort of each have a different musical sort of thread that goes through the season, and eventually at the end of the season, if people hang with us through April, they'll see them meet up, and hopefully the meetup will make sense. It might only make sense to us.
Have you played around with social media? Have you played around with live stuff on? But not to take away from your tickets.
Right. We have. We've done some live stuff, and we've done some live streaming, and we've done things like that. What we actually have done is we've tried to change the way that we handle things in the hall itself when you come, so that so that for people that want the traditional concert experience, for instance, that they've always had. That is still there. It's still in an auditorium at Maryland Hall, the theater, or it's at St. Anne's or a place like that. So it still has that formal look and structure.
I'm going out for a night on the town. I'm going to get dressed up, and I'm going to go into a nice
Exactly. Okay. But what we do once we have you in there is we've changed it a little bit. So, for instance, if you come to a concert at St. Anne's, when you come in, you'll see on either side of the chancel, you'll see 2 flat screens that are projecting images. For instance, if you come to Messiah, that we've created for that concert that will sort of connect with what we're going to do in the evening, and they might be images of Handel's manuscript. It could be,
cool.
And it's kind of cool. And those things will make it, our goal
interpretive, interactive.
Yeah, and our goal, and we use those for super titling during the concert. So instead of having the audience look at a piece of paper with the text, we'll title during the concerts as if you were at Maryland Hall, titling above the stage. And the idea is that it's a little more interactive, and it looks a little more familiar. It looks like what you'll see when you watch TV. So it gives you, so there's that connection, and it keeps you out of your program booklet during the concert, and it gets you more engaged, hopefully. And that's been incredibly successful. That's just a minor change. I mean, that's like so small, it's almost not even worth mentioning. But it's yielded some big big response from our
Good
audience,
feedback.
and people love it. They love the fact that when they come in and they see these images, and we'll sort of take a few minutes before the concert and tie what we're going to do with a quick, and I mean really quick, pre-concert talk, maybe 5 minutes, where we sort of use those same images to say, here's what you've been seeing, here's why it's important, here's how it connects with what you're about to hear. Have fun, and we'll hang around afterwards to
I
talk.
like the quick pre-concert talk because some of them can get a
my
little
golly.
bit.
The pre-concert talks and me do not get on well.
I think it's a little bit about the ego of the person.
Yeah, it is, and I have to confess, I do talk before concerts sometimes, but I try only to do it to talk about what's going to happen that night,
Right.
at that moment.
I'm not calling you out about your ego.
No.
saying in general.
Listen, none of us would be in this business
I
if
know
we
if you
didn't.
didn't have. I get
mean,
it.
come on. I'm a shy flower. I
Oh,
just like.
come on, Artie. Okay, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back on the 1430 Connection. Welcome back to the 1430 Connection. I'm Donna Cole. I'm in the studio today with Ernie Green. He's the Artistic Director of Live Arts Maryland, the Music Director of the Annapolis Chamber Orchestra and the Annapolis Chorale. We are in the midst of arts season. We're going to talk about the schedule coming up. Let's talk about the audience. Have you seen a change in the audience over the years?
We have. We've seen in some places we've seen the audience very static and very stagnant, which is something we constantly are trying to find ways not to change, because I think that the idea of changing the audience and finding a new audience is sort of like looking for a unicorn.
Right.
You know, it sounds fun, but it's not really going to yield much. What we want to do is we want to try to take the audience that we have, who is incredibly devoted, incredibly loyal, and we want to try to add to it and find ways that connect with people across different generations, different socioeconomic groups, different ethnic backgrounds. And the idea is that music is a powerful unifier. And as we do our concerts and we program, what we've found is that, for instance, the concerts we do at St. Anne's have a very I don't want to say diverse necessarily, because that's not the right word, but that they have a very interesting makeup of the audience. We see young students from St. John's coming to our St. Anne Series concerts because they're at 6:15 on a Thursday night and they're free.
And that's not an easy target audience to get into a theater.
Exactly. It's hard. It's really hard. And we also see, for instance, those same students coming. I mean, they're not filling the house.
Right.
But we're starting to see more and more young people coming to those concerts, and the more esoteric and sort of out there things we're doing in terms of early music, the more we see that crowd coming in. So our goal, and this has been the St. Anne's Bach Plus series, we sort of have used that early music, Bach, as the core of what we do, and then it gives us free rein to sort of go out from there.
And performances for students free?
We get students.
Across the board?
Students are free for everything we do. I think there's one concert during the year that they're not free, and they might be like I don't know how much they are, but there's one concert. I think it's the Celebration of Christmas,
Right, which is your biggie.
which is a biggie, and that has to do a lot with other issues as far as ticketing and licensing and all sorts of other nonsense. But as far as I'm concerned, every single thing we do, students are free. Period. Now, if you want to make sure, if you're a parent, that your child
Is going to sit with you.
then I think it might be like $12 or something. So you can pre-buy a ticket to make sure they're with you. If you really don't care, get there 30 minutes before the show. And
I like my kid, but it's getting to the age he doesn't want to sit with me.
Exactly. We get to the hall, and it's like, okay, go find a
See
ticket.
you
I'll see you
later.
at the break.
Okay, speaking of kids, is there any thought to programming specifically for the older, the teenage, and you have some of these, teens and 20-somethings? Any
Yeah.
thought to putting some rap influence, to putting, I mean, you've seen what Hamilton has done.
I know, it's really amazing, and we saw Hamilton. We actually were really cheap. My wife got us standing room tickets, which it makes you realize just how long Hamilton really is. I mean, it's a
I
long.
couldn't do it.
Oh my
No
God,
way, yeah.
it's a long night. We actually, what we're finding, we've thought about it. We've thought about sort of doing things that are musically part of that sort of cultural age dynamic. What we've sort of decided is that we can't really do that as well as
what you do.
What we do. Yeah, and so
okay.
what we've done is we've tried to find ways of bringing young people in using what we do and doing it in ways that they want to see. So that, as we look at programming, one of the things we really look at is this something, the big question I ask is this something I would go to see? Mm-hmm. And if I and I'm kind of funny about going to see stuff. If it's not something that I want to go see, I don't do it. I mean, it's really that's sort of maybe a silly way to do it. And we found that by asking that question, that the programming, we haven't jumped the shark. We haven't done, I'm not out there doing, hip hop in front of the orchestra. But we found that by sort of using what we do and saying we're going to present this in ways. We did a concert a year ago where I said flat out in several PR pieces. Much to the dismay of people who, exactly, who used to work for me and were on the board. I said in one of them, I said, we're doing a whole concert of music you've never heard, you don't know, you've never heard of these composers. Once
you pick them all up off the ground.
Exactly. And I said, and by the way, everything we're doing was written 20 years or less. It was 20 years old or less. Right. But I promise you, if you come, you're going to discover something new that you're going to want to hear again and again and again. Well,
part of that, I think, Ernie, is you have to be passionate about the piece. And if you're not passionate about it, it's going to come through to the audience.
And it's trust, too. It's, the audience knows. I mean, there's a trust. The audience that we have and we've built over the years, they trust me that I'm not going to pull the rug out from under them when they've come, and it doesn't mean that everything we do is perfect or awesome or amazing. I mean, we have mistakes and things that happen all the time. I mean, it's part of live performance. If you want something to be perfect, buy a CD or a DVD. Right. Live performance is dynamic. It is something that you can't predict what's going to happen when you get in the theater. It can be absolute magic, like you've never seen before in your life, or it can be a white knuckle ride where you're hanging on from the beginning to the end, and the audience can sense that.
I actually like mistakes. I mean, because maybe it's my sense of humor, but you get to see how somebody recovers from it.
Yeah, we did a Broadway in concert years ago. We did a production of Little Night Music where in the second act there are 6 or 7 very short scenes that happen one after the other, and they sort of meld into one another, and one of the performers came on at the wrong place, and the other one didn't come on when they should have, and it took about 5 minutes of everybody trying to figure out how to continue the storyline.
Which I think is great. And by the way, I say this right after I've told you before we started, oh no, I don't like live shows, I've got to do this. So I'm a complete hypocrite here.
Well, no, it's true. It's true. The editing thing, digital editing, isn't that nice now? You don't have to do the tape.
Yeah.
You just...
Let's take another short break. We're going to come back and talk about your season. This is Donna Cole on the 1430 Connection. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the 1430 Connection. I'm in the studio today with Ernie Green. We're talking about now the upcoming season of the Annapolis Chamber Orchestra, Chorale, and Live Arts Maryland. Let's hear about it. Which performance are you most excited for out of all of them? And there's a lot.
Oh my gosh, there's so many, and I'm excited about. I love what we do, the things that we do every year from year to year that the audience expects, and they start queuing up for tickets in July for the celebration of Christmas, Messiah, things like that. The Broadway and concerts, those are always fun, and because they're things that we do with people that we've done them with many times over the years. It's sort of like going to summer camp.
Yeah.
It's really musical summer camp. Everybody gets together, picks a bunk, and then we start singing and making music. What I'm really excited over the last I'd say 5 years, we've sort of created this new series at St. Anne's called Bach Plus. And when we started it, we didn't make an announcement that we were doing this. Mm-hmm. We just started doing it. And all of a sudden, if you were going to the St. Anne's series concerts that it's on 6:15 on a Thursday night, all of a sudden it would be a Bach Plus concert. Mm-hmm. And you might, instead of having a piano playing chamber music or something, you'd have the orchestra And maybe it was a Bach cantata, maybe it was one of the Brandenburg concertos. And we were really sort of creative about how we did those things. We mashed up contemporary music, popular music. We did a number of things where we sort of paralleled classic rock with Bach and Monteverdi and Purcell,
cool.
and we had a blast. So we just literally started doing it, and we thought we're not going to make an announcement about the iconic music, but we just started doing it. That series has really grown, and for instance, on October 11th we do the first season, the first concert of the Bach Plus series, and we sort of laugh about it because it's Bach Plus and it's mostly Vivaldi this year.
First season,
because
right.
so
Which I love. I do love.
Well, and
yeah.
and we're sort of we've entitled the series, the Bach Plus set, the chamber series, A Season of Seasons, because everybody does the Vivaldi Four Seasons. You can't turn the radio on. It's a Verizon ringback tone.
Yep.
And we decided that we were going to do the Four Seasons, but we were going to do them over the course of the year. And we were
in the right season.
Mostly in the right season, some of them, but we also decided that we were going to combine them with pieces that were written as an homage or in response. So, for instance, this first concert we'll do summer and fall, and we'll intersperse it with Philip Glass and his American Four Seasons. And in the winter, we'll do winter-spring with Astor Piazzolla, the great tango master, his Four Seasons of Buenos Aires, and we'll do Piazzolla. And in the spring, we'll do spring and summer and Max Richter's recomposed version.
And which is your favorite out of all of them? I like spring.
I love spring. I actually like the dog barking in spring on the viola. That just makes me giggle every single time I do it. I love spring. I like the fall too. I like that sort of groupy middle movement that's so much fun. But so we'll do that. But what's
every
cool,
Thursday?
Every Thursday at St. Anne's, 6:15.
And to get tickets for those?
They're free.
Well, then there you go.
They're free. Just show
up at the door.
There's one of them that there's an admission for. It's when we do the Bach Magnificat on December 20th, I think. And I think there's a small admission for that because we're tying it into the Messiah performances the next night. But in the end of the year, the Bach Plus series that we've done will tie into the last Masterworks concert at Maryalnd Hall, where we're doing the world premiere of a new piece that is celebrating the Chesapeake Bay.
Wow.
By Kathy
Nice.
Watson-Eddy, and the drafts of this piece are absolutely gorgeous.
Going to have some photographs on that one of the Chesapeake Bay?
Oh, we're going to have photographs, and we've got some really, I can't say yet, but we've got some really cool surprises, and the piece is beautiful. The last movement is, wow. I mean, it's just incredible. And we're just seeing the drafts of this thing. So
It's too bad you're not more passionate about these shows.
I try to get myself a little more keyed up and excited.
All right, but starting in November, actually you've already had one, but now starting in November 10th at Maryalnd Hall, Armistice.
Yeah, this concert sort of I was thinking about this a year ago, and or actually about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, and I wanted to do something to commemorate the armistice. But I didn't want to do the usual pieces that you do at a peace is good, war is bad, we want peace, we don't want death,
Right.
and we don't want to die. I didn't want to do those normal pieces. So what I'd set out to do was see if I could find a way to use music that reflected the human spirit, music that reflected a striving for peace and harmony, without beating everybody over the head with it.
Perfect for where we're at right now,
exactly,
right?
Exactly. And so I used Bernstein's Chichester Psalms as the bookends for this concert, along with pictures and prose and poetry from World War I.
Moving on to Christmas, it's your celebration of Christmas,
It's the biggie.
and that is December 7th. Yuletide carols sung by a choir, a very big choir. Broadway in Annapolis, February 15th. Kiss Me Kate. You are tied to Broadway.
I love Broadway. I love musical theater.
We all do.
And Kiss Me Kate is so beautiful. And we're doing the new version of it, which is much more socially accepted. The old version is just not good. We're just not doing the old version.
St. John's Passion, again, Bach, March 16th. That's one night only, St. Anne's Church. And bringing the season to a close, April 6th, at least at Maryland Hall for you, is your season finale, Light and Spring.
Yeah, and this is where those the box series at
Right.
St. Anne's converges. And we've got a fabulous soloist on that concert, Mimi Stillman. She's a flutist from Philadelphia, and absolutely extraordinary.
More information on...
Call 410-263-1906 or go to liveartsmaryland.org on the web.
Ernie, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks, Donna.
This is Donna Cole on the 1430 Connection. We will see you next week.